For short
Right? We
ordinance?
didn't change it,
No,
right?
no, I'm just something, I think for short ordinance.
You guys ready?
You know what? I figured, I don't know why I did that. Yes, I'm ready.
Stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. This is Monday, February 17th, President's Day. Call the roll, please.
Cedar,
Here.
Ellery,
Here.
Kinsfater,
Here.
Koopa, Laporte,
Here.
McCartney,
Here.
Watt,
Here.
Motion to excuse member Kufa.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
thank you.
All right. We need to make an amendment to the agenda tonight, please. Under 8A, the Advia Credit Union sign replacement, we're going to pull that with your endorsement. The lease agreement is not complete just yet.
It's the license agreement.
License agreement, license agreement. I'll need a motion to
I'll
support.
make a motion to scratch that.
Support it.
All right, any questions? Call the roll, please.
Ellery,
Yes.
Kinsfater,
Yes.
Laporte,
Yes.
McCartney,
Yes.
Watt,
Yes.
Cedar,
Yes.
carried, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, consent agenda number 4A, City Council minutes of February 3rd, 2020, regular meeting and closed meeting, recommendation approved, and Recreation Commission minutes of November 18th and December 17th, 2019, recommendation received.
Motion to approve A and B as presented.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, let's go to 5, ordinance as in resolution. A, ordinance adoption 2020-02, regulation of handbills. Mr. Downey.
Your Honor, before council is a proposed ordinance that was introduced at our last regular meeting that would put limits on the distribution of handbills, making them a municipal civil infraction. Having been introduced at the last meeting, it's before council tonight for adoption.
I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Support.
All right, the motion is made and supported. Questions? I had one question for Mr. Downey. So now, but we enact this tonight, do we send notice to like the shopper and whoever, or they just, how do they find out that we've done this?
That's city's prerogative. It may do so, or it can simply be done by law enforcement if there's a complaint. It can be a warning issued, or that's really for the administration to determine.
All right. So if somebody gets something thrown in their driveway, they don't want to throw in their driveway, they pick it up, look at it, call the police or a code enforcement officer,
That's correct.
make a complaint, we make the contact, and that's where we go.
Correct.
All right. Any other questions? All right, call the roll, please.
Kinsfater,
Yes.
Laporte,
Yes.
McCartney,
Yes.
Watt,
Yes.
Ellery,
Yes.
Cedar,
Yes.
ordinance adopted, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll go to B. Resolution 2005, support for MDOT TAP grant application. Mr. Rothi.
Yes, so a few things before we hear from our guest tonight that I want to clear up immediately regarding the financing of this project. The City Council is being asked tonight to apply for a Transportation Alternatives Program grant, or TAP grant, with the Michigan Department of Transportation to construct the non-motorized trail down Clinton Avenue from Kearney to Riverside. This grant program requires a minimum of 20% match. The projects that get funded, and as recommended in the grant application guidebook, typically you see a match between 40 and 45% in order for the project to, essentially be awarded those funds. And this resolution, if you notice in the final section where it says, be it further resolved, it says the funds will be payable out of the City of St. Clair 2020-2021 general fund budget and other sources of funding. The key words there are other sources of funding. The Community Foundation of St. Clair has a partnership with another entity who is still being asked to remain confidential right now, and the Community Foundation anticipates being able to provide the city with at least $300,000 to go towards that 40% match that we are trying to, this resolution is asking council to move forward with. Additionally, if those funds fail to materialize at the community foundation, the city is under no obligation to continue with the project, as we do not have, the full 40% match in our funds available. So again, there's always that opportunity to back out should we need it, and then we'd still have to get awarded the grant anyway as well. So again, this resolution simply saying we're committing, we're prepared to a 40% match, but again, there's that behind the scenes caveat of the community foundation's money is going to be a significant portion of that. And we did actually just receive a $50,000 grant for the community foundation to cover costs that the grant does not cover, which is basically design engineering costs and a lot of the preliminary work. So again, we're going to apply for the grants, assuming council moves forward with this ordinance, and then we have the funds available if we're awarded the grant to immediately move forward with the design engineering of the project. So that's kind of the financing piece. I wanted to explain that, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Kern.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Ryan Kern with Anderson, Eckstein, and Westrick. So we're working to assist the city with applying for a TAP grant application to fund the construction portion of the project, looking at 60% being funded through the TAP grant program, which is administered by the Michigan Department of Transportation. The goal of the program is to promote walkability, safe modes of transportation for non-motorized vehicles, improving the overall quality of life and economic development, which I think this project addresses all those items. There's approximately $25 to $28 million that's available annually for non-motorized projects through this program. The next submittal for applications is a week from Wednesday, February 26th. So that's why we're in front of you today, to get this resolution passed for the city to support moving forward with applying for a grant application. The state does prioritize funding for projects that demonstrate a competitive concept and a high likelihood of constructability that meets those items that I talked about previously. So I did pass out a handout to everyone here with just some basic facts about the program and what we're proposing. Based on the 2019 Trails Master Plan that the St. Clair County Metropolitan Planning Commission produced, it listed Clinton Avenue as a critical gap to be completed as part of the Bridge to Bay Trail Network. In order to basically access downtown St. Clair, there's really no safe access from the trail network into downtown St. Clair currently, and that's what we're trying to achieve with this project. We're proposing to put in a 10-foot asphalt path on the north side of Clinton Avenue from Kearney Drive to Riverside Avenue. I know a couple months ago, I think our office was here presenting some options as to what to install there, whether it be a two-way cycle track within Clinton Avenue itself and widening Clinton Avenue 3 to 5 feet in order to accommodate that, or to have a separate bicycle path where the existing sidewalk is now on the north side, which is the least costlier of the two alternatives. So that's what we are proposing, is to remove the existing sidewalk on the north side and replace it with an asphalt path 10 feet wide. There's adequate right-of-way through there to do that. We don't see a need for any right-of-way acquisition. We did put a small cost into the grant application for right-of-way acquisition just in case we do need that, but we don't foresee that at all. There may be some utility relocations that might need to take place, some poles that might be in the way between the Jordan Creek and 8th Street. Those poles are just holding telephone and cable television lines, no electric lines. So we're going to try to minimize that as much as possible, but there may be a few poles that need to be relocated. In the commercial district from 5th Street to Riverside Drive, we're going to try to propose the decorative stamped concrete that's there now and make it the 10-foot wide path, basically, just as we're proposing from Kearney Drive to 5th Street. We're going to submit a draft application to the state for their review later this week to see if that will be acceptable in order to match what's existing there in the commercial area. I don't know if that'll be acceptable or not. We're going to try for that. Otherwise, it'd be an asphalt path all the way to Riverside Avenue. In the handout, I did have a summary of the costs, which I believe you received as part of your council packet as well, and I think Warren's pretty much covered the funding portion of the project. The schedule, if the city were to be approved for a TAP grant, submitting it next week, they would be approving projects sometime in July of this year. So we wouldn't see construction of this project until sometime next year. We'd be doing the design work late this summer and into the fall, if approved, getting it to MDOT for approval at the end of the year, and looking to advertise for bids in March of next year to start construction as soon as the weather breaks in May of next year, and hope to complete it in August if everything goes well with approval. So in order to, part of the submittal of the draft application this week would be to include a resolution of support by the city, which we have in front of you tonight for consideration, and I'll entertain any questions you might have.
You said that we would replace the sidewalk from Kearney to Fifth, and then from Fifth to North Riverside too?
Yes, yes.
So the drawing that we have is not accurate. So
What, the drawing that's in there is an example of a cross-section. The dimensions might change throughout the
So we won't,
route.
the Riverside and Blake's, they wouldn't lose any parking then?
That's correct. The parking would remain as is.
Okay.
Yes.
So this path would be from the sidewalk up to the building?
It would fit in that area, yes.
So from the sidewalk to the road, the parking would still stay?
The parking bays in the downtown area would remain, yes.
So how does I'm looking at the picture, I can't figure out where the bike path's going, I'm sorry.
But I think, again, the dimensions are going to be a little bit off depending on where we're at along the route. But I think the parking bays are roughly 8 feet wide, and that would remain, and then the path would go between that and the right-of-way. And I want to say there's about 15 feet of space roughly between the parking bays and the right-of-way line in that area.
And the trees that would be removed would be replaced, or?
If we do need to remove any trees, we have a cost in there to replace those, yes.
Okay, I think I understand now.
The determination for Fifth Street on as far as the stamp goes, which I like the idea, but what's to make that call? Just the cost, or?
Looking at the cost, there's really not much of a difference between the cost of the decorative stamped concrete or asphalt. I know we talked about that between Therese and Jim here a couple weeks ago about possibly entertaining that just so we can match with what's there. I think that would look better if
Yeah.
we were able to do that, yeah.
And then what happens on Main Street then? How is that going to look head north?
On which street?
On North Riverside? Head north, how's that going to look?
We don't know yet until we do a real design on that, I guess, as far as what it's going to look like. But at the intersection of Riverside Avenue,
From Riverside head north? From the Voyager from Clinton and Riverside head north?
as of right now, there's nothing proposed there. And
Oh, it's just going to stop right there?
yeah,
Gotcha.
right,
It's
Gotcha.
not in its current scope.
right.
Gotcha, okay.
Another segment to look at, excuse me, but yes,
Yeah.
another segment to look at.
That may be a segment in the future.
Any other questions for Ryan?
I'd make a motion, Your Honor, to approve the resolution as presented.
I second it.
All right, the motion has been made, support. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
One question, Your Honor.
Yes.
The final design work, when it comes back and the schema, we get a chance to take a look at it before it's approved?
Yeah, typically, probably at least 2 different times during the design process, we would present it to the city for review. Usually about 30 to 50% completion, we would review it with the city to make sure everything meets what your goals are of the project, and then again, towards the completion of the project, we would review it again with the city.
Then the future project would be connect the bike path down M29.
Correct, yeah, per the master plan, there are segments both north and south of Clinton Avenue that are proposed in the near future. They're just not listed as critical gaps to be completed at this time.
I'm right on that corner, and it's crazy.
Right.
Well, all right.
I just got one question for Warren. I think when we talked on the phone, correct me if I'm wrong, we have money set aside for this?
Yes, so the city is going to incur some out-of-pocket costs, unless the community foundation is feeling extremely generous to give us, fund the whole thing, which I have a doubt, usually you have to have some skin in the game. And what Superintendent Booth did with the general fund is some parts of, there's basically unassigned funds that are left over each year in the general fund, and then assigned funds that are left over. And those are in different categories. And as of the last audit, he had essentially set aside $150,000 for recreation purposes. So essentially I would be the city's out-of-pocket costs could be, deducted from that, portion that's been set aside.
Very good.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Bill Clement, 13 Second Floor South Riverside. What would be the city's cost on it if they got the grant?
Well, without any sort of funds from the community foundation, the city's current out-of-pocket cost would be $420,000. Again, that is before we would receive any money from the community foundation that we haven't received already.
So it's going to cost the city $400,000.
No, that's not what you
No.
said.
What's it going to cost the city if you get everything you want? What's it going to cost the city?
It depends on how much the community foundation was willing to contribute. I've heard $300,000, so $420,000 minus $300,000, you've got $120,000 right there. I think the potential for the community foundation to give us funds that exceed $300,000 is quite high.
And if they decide to back out of that, then we can
Then
back
we
out of the
can-
deal?
Absolutely.
Yes, okay.
So you don't know exactly how much the city's going to have into this.
At this point, we have an estimate.
What's the estimate?
I already told you $420,000.
What fund would that come out of?
The city council has the authority to decide. You could pull that from the general fund. You could also pull small portions out of the street funds, which, could be used for regular non-motorized sidewalk
I guess
repair.
if it's $400,000, where you guys got any idea where you pay for it from? What fund?
You think-
I think he just said that we're looking at $300,000 to $350,000 from the community foundation, or foundation monies. So we're looking at $170,000 from the
Okay,
city.
where would you just say?
So he just said he's
170?
got 150 sitting there in the wreck.
No, it actually only be 120,000.
Okay, so
Yeah,
120.
yeah.
Okay, so my math's a little bit
Yeah.
bad. Thanks.
So, we can always back out if
Yeah,
they
we
don't,
don't get
if they
that.
don't
If we
ante up
receive
what
the
they're
funds,
supposed to.
My recommendation to council will be do not move forward with the project.
Right.
Right.
And I listened to this gentleman, everybody. I still don't understand how you're going to get in front of the Riverside Bar and Blake's Auto with a 10-foot bike path. How's it going to fit?
Well, we'll have a better idea when we do the design, but we have looked at what the right-of-way is through there, and it appears that it will work.
You're going to there's no access to them buildings. You're going to be coming out on a bike path.
That's city right away, Bill.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Okay, so what's the argument?
Well, I was just curious. You walk out of...
So he just explained to you, we got 15 feet of right-of-way before it even encroaches on the buildings from the parking lot north to the buildings, so, and he said it would fit. I mean, until they
I
get down
was
there and
just-
really design it.
I was just curious how you're going to come out of the Riverside or Blake's Auto Parts, and there's the bike path right there with... I was just curious, because it's awfully narrow in there. I was just asking.
Yeah, there are several blocks there where there is not much setback from the right-of-way line of the buildings.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kleeman. Any other questions? All right, call the roll, please.
Laporte,
Yes.
McCartney.
Yes.
Watt,
Yes.
Ellery,
No.
Kinsfater,
Yes.
Cedar,
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Rule number 6, Ports Administration, Mr. Rothy.
Yes, four updates to bring to council tonight. First, starting off with, we talked about goals in January. I'd like to report some progress on the HR goals that I had set forth. City staff has been putting together a new personnel manual, which is one of the things we talked about. I'm expecting to have that this week and begin doing some internal reviews of that before sending it to the labor attorney for review. So that is moving forward. I've spoken with the Michigan Municipal League regarding the compensation study and job description overhaul. And I expect to have a proposal for council on that particular item at the next regularly scheduled council meeting. Another project we've been working on at City Hall for the last few months is the creation of a new resident handbook, which is essentially this 15-ish page document that pretty much if you're a new resident to the city or you want to get familiarized with all the city services and who to contact and certain important dates, it's this one-stop shop for all of that. So I'm hoping to launch that by the end of March. It's going through the final review periods now, but I think that's going to be a great communication tool to both be able to have hand residents at the countertop and also put on our website for distribution. And lastly, next council meeting, I'll have another item for you to take action on. Public Act 202 of 2018, I believe, requires cities all local governments in Michigan to pre-fund retiree health insurance costs for employees hired after, I believe it's June 30th, 2018. That is, I believe, 5 employees for the city. And in order to be compliant with the law, we are going to have to essentially create a new trust fund account with MERS, Municipal Employees Retirement Services Corporation. And each year the city transfers money into a separate fund, which is basically just designated for retiree health care. So that practice would continue, but instead of that being an internal fund, just sitting in the city's checking accounts, those funds would then be deposited with MERS. So I'll have more information on that at our next council meeting, but that is something that will be at the next council agenda for your consideration.
Any questions for Mr. Wolfe? All right, Mr. Downey, you have anything tonight?
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Anything for Mr. Downey? Any city departments?
Yeah, this is her.
Thank you. On behalf of the Recreation Commission, I wanted to report that we have been working on a Kletcha Park site plan. This was part of our master plan recommendations, and it was included in our community survey when we updated our master plan. And we would like to, my intentions for tonight was to give notice that we are working on applying for a Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund grant for Phase 1 development of Kletcha Park, which would include replacing the playground and the picnic pavilion and provide more accessible parking at the Kletcha Park location. And in addition to that, we've talked about Phase 2, which would be a separate grant of maybe looking at some different multi-use surfaces that could be used maybe for a basketball or a pickleball court, and potentially putting a splash pad at the park. So the application deadline for the DNR grant is April 1st. And we have been working with Rowe & Associates on a site plan that is part of the grant requirement. And in addition to that, we also need to schedule a public hearing. And I was talking to the city clerk today with the city requirements for public hearings and the grant requirements. I'd like to, in addition to updating you on what the Recreation Commission has been doing, request that we schedule a public hearing for the grant proposal at the next city council meeting, which is March 2nd, 2020. And the grant is it's a 70-25, so a 25% local match. We do have our millage money that we have on reserve, in addition to the millage money that we'd be receiving this year and next year. Kind of like the MDOT project, this would be a 2021, possibly roll over into 21, 22 project by the time we find out if we get the funding for the project. We are recommending up to a 30% match for the grant. Just for your information, if you just apply for the minimum amount, you do not receive any score or points towards your grant. But if you apply for a little bit more, 26 to 29% or 30%, you get extra points for your grant proposal. So, and the maximum amount of the grant for the Natural Resources Trust Fund is $300,000. It's the same grant that we used for the Palmer Park Boardwalk.
All right, so you're going to ask us tonight to set a public hearing for March 2nd?
Yes.
March 2nd?
I believe, if you want
Yes.
to confirm that date, the next regular meeting.
March
Yes.
2nd. This is my same phone I've had forever, Tom, you know that. All right, so anything else?
Nope.
Any questions for
That's it.
Therese? All right, I'll ask for a motion to set a public hearing for 7 o'clock on March 2nd.
So move, Your Honor.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you, Therese. All right, let's go to D, authorities, boards, commissions, committee chairs, council reps. Anybody have anything? We'll go to number 7. We have no unfinished business tonight. No new business. Number 9 is claims in accounts for February 11th and February 13th.
Hearing no questions, Your Honor, I make a motion to approve as presented.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's go to number 10, public questions and comments, anything non-agenda, 3 minutes. Give us your name and address, please.
Bill Clayman, 1374 South Riverside. Last fall, I asked about Oak Street. When it rains, the mud and the water, and the intersection floods out. Where are we standing?
Yeah. Bob Beef is looking into an alternative method of paving roads that are lightly traveled that is like a third of the cost of actual asphalt. He's still doing some research on it.
So you're looking to pave Oak Street, I guess, then, to keep the mud from coming down? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I mean, he's some kind of new thing that they do with, it's not asphalt, but it's like asphalt. I'm not sure what it's called.
Like a hard surface application? Would that include, we wouldn't curb and gutter that, I would imagine.
No, I don't think so.
All
Thank you.
right, so answers to follow, I guess?
Pardon me?
You have some answers coming soon?
I hope so.
All right, appreciate it.
Anybody else? Okay, we have Diane. Yeah, Diane's here. Yeah. She has a great idea for us. You guys listen to this.
Diane Ives with the St. Clair Garden Club, Mr. Mayor and City Council. We're making our proposal for the area proposed is for revitalization is directly south of the newly renovated St. Clair Inn. It is highly used parking area bordering M29 and across the street from the Riverview Plaza. We have recognized this area as a challenge we have recognized this area as a challenge currently facing our community. The City of St. Clair has recently approached the Garden Club for ideas to help make this area more appealing to our residents, and in addition, showcase the natural beauty of our community to our visitors. We are proposing the design and installation of 2 raised brick block planter beds to be used for low-growing shrubs or plantings. We would install irrigation for the ongoing maintenance of these beds. The project also includes a brick-paved walkway between the 2 planters to provide access to the adjacent parking lot and the boardwalk. The brick pavers would match the pavers underneath the picnic table immediately north of the turnout and around the big clock in the south end of Palmer Park. The project would also include the installation of sod in the areas not covered by the planters or the paved walkway. Questions?
I think it's a great idea. Do you have funding set up for this somewhere?
Yes. We had a garden tour last July, and we have some money in savings from other fundraisers, and we're applying for a grant from the St. Clair Community Foundation as well. But not like yours. We know that the Oskin, we have another member here, that has used to live in your house, and they put aside, it's a fund within the fund for St. Clair beautification, and she was a former member of our garden club.
Yeah.
So
Good.
we feel confident that we will get some support, if not all that we're asking for.
All right. Good. I think it's a great project. Yeah, you guys do great stuff around here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you need a motion just for our support, or do we just?
I'd make a motion to support this effort.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All right, you have our support, not monetarily, but maybe. Thank you. All right, anybody else? Ms. Bode?
Mary Boda, 1170 South 12th. I think our city police should be congratulated. They're just a wonderful group. Okay, Jody's always bagging groceries at Neiman's. The men serve the sauerkraut dinner at the Manuel Lutheran Church. They're out there in the public, and they're wonderful. They ought to be congratulated.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Okay, all right, then we'll go to number 11. Anybody on council have anything to announce tonight?
One item, Your Honor, a couple of people have asked about salmon steak fishing tournament. Will not happen this year.
Anybody else? Okay,
Hearing nothing else, Your Honor, I make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Have a good night, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. Careful going home. Barry, thanks for coming out.
What's wrong?